Welcome back to another one of our Five for the Community Manager with Ben Lesnick and me, Nicole D'Angelo. I'm going to ask Ben actually 6 questions today. One of them we're going to save for the end. But Ben, how was your weekend? How was your holiday?
Oh, it's fantastic. Allie made a great dinner. My brother came over with some of his friends. Just a really comfortable Thanksgiving. We had a lot of fun.
Awesome. I had a really great Thanksgiving with my kids, but then the next 4 days are just a blur as I work in retail, you know?
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I love this time of year. It's fun. Awesome people. So we've got, I guess because it was an off week and people still had their heads spinning from all the sales that were going on, in the thread, or I should say in the comment section from the last video, I only had a few questions for this one. The first one is very simple. A lot of people, and I see this a lot, and we used to be able to turn it off and on. The interface used to be able to allow us to turn on and off motion blur, and I know you've received this question before, but it seems people aren't able to find that answer. What do you know about motion blur being able to be turned on and off, and other commands that are built into the CryEngine being returned to us?
They will be returned to you. It's just a matter of building the interface in Starsuit that lets you turn them on or off, the options screen. Which is actually one of the more interesting things you find about game development, is how much work goes into, say, like a screen with 50 options on it. Because that seems just so much more boring than building a spaceship, but it's a huge part of the game.
Oh, it is a huge part. I know interface design is one of the really big things that they teach for programming, right? So, yeah, and I think that's why you have, I think his name is Zane doing the HUD. That's an interface in itself, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's actually working on, so right now we're basically using the same HUD for every ship. He's working on our next generation HUDs that'll be different on the different manufacturers' ships. Some of them will be in your helmet, some of them will be on the ship itself. It's really cool stuff he's doing.
I can't wait to see the Xi'an design. Xi'an, how do you say it?
I say Xi'an. Now I'm self-conscious about it. I say Xi'an. I don't even know what I say.
I think it's Chinese. I think it's Xi'an. And so I'm not sure, but that's the way I remember that being said. But I can't wait to see that specific design because it's going to have to be alien in nature. So they're going to have to think that one up, right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, actually, if you go back to like the original Wing Commander, the first ship Chris added to the game with one of the missions discs was a Kilrathi fighter.
Yeah.
And not only were all the interfaces in Kilrathi, and it was entirely alien design, it also had like post-it notes over the thing to tell you which one was the missile launch.
And I know where he got that from. He got that from the captured ME-109s and Zeros back in World War II, and that's exactly how they did it.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome. And that MiG-21 that they found, I saw that too. That was pretty good. No, actually, I think it was a MiG-15 that got flown over to the U.S. during the Korea War, and then you saw Chuck Yeager with it, with all the little pieces of paper telling him what each instrument was. Pretty cool.
I remember that mission in Chuck Yeager's Air Combat from GA all those years ago.
Yeah, you got it. So the next two are about the Carrick, and specifically the first thing. Now, a lot of people have already watched the Carrick video, and they dropped this, you dropped this. There's going to be some kind of a launch vessel, some kind of a ship on the Carrick. Is it going to be task-specific to exploration? Could you give us a little bit of insight on what this small vessel might be?
Yes, so we're still designing the small vessel, but the idea is, you ever see, say, like 2010, where they get to Jupiter and then they send the guy out in the probe to go approach the monolith, and of course he gets evaporated or blown up or whatever you do to whatever the monolith does to people. That's basically the idea. It has this smaller explorer pod. Not necessarily a pod in our case. I think we want more of a ship, but that's sort of the role we're imagining for it. It's that utility pod with a focus on exploration.
So are we going to have to say how open the pod bay doors?
Well, we have to do that anyway.
Yeah. I was kind of envisioning it like the Farscape vessel that John Crichton flew, because if you think about the way that Chris talks about navigating a wormhole, that's exactly the way that it was depicted in that TV series. So I thought maybe that was the one that would get to the smaller jump holes and navigate them, but,
It's an interesting idea. I will pass it along.
Please. I'm trying to give you more help. The second one has to do with a little bit of the modularity of the Carrick, the second part of the Carrick. Now, right now, when you look at the ship stats, which absolutely mean nothing, and I tell people that, don't look at ship stats until day one of the game release. It says 0 cargo units, but during the designing the Carrick, they talk about there being this modularity and being able to have different modules, kind of like the Retaliator's going to have. Could you give us some insight on what some of these might be, and will we be able to use a Carrick for cargo, which doesn't make sense? That's what they're asking.
Well, we'll say that yes, there would be a cargo module. You're going to be hearing a lot more about modular ships in the very near future. We've got a new plan coming off of people's criticism of the Cutlass that I think is going to be really cool. I can't spoil it because it's coming with Chris's next letter. Wow. But in the case of the Carrick, the idea is essentially, swap out that midsection for a cargo hold or additional scanners, or it's still a very broad concept in the particular example of the Carrick.
Okay. Now, 2 NPC questions to round out the 5, and one of these we asked last time, but people got confused, and I thought that we had this answered fully. And the question is, can I have a crew made up entirely of characters that are NPC character slots because I own 8 packages?
To a point.
Right.
What Chris is thinking right now is that there is a certain cutoff where it just doesn't work to have an NPC crew for a larger ship.
Right.
He is still deciding where that is. I know this is coming up so much because of the Carrick specifically.
Right. That's exactly where it came from, because people were very excited that when you answered that question, you said yes. And then Chris said, well, to a point, and what he was trying to push is that this is a game where he wants you to interact with other people. Yes,
we firmly believe that it is more fun to crew a large ship with friends. We want to give people the options as much as it's technically possible, but as you get to a bigger and bigger ship, it becomes harder for one person to order around a crew of robots.
Okay.
And in the particular example of the Carrick, I know everybody is saying, "Oh, I want to buy a character in the concept sale," but we don't know the answer to this question. I think that's kind of the great thing about Star Citizen is we're willing to say we don't know yet instead of just deciding based on whichever option will give us more money.
I think once you get into the ships that are going to be 300 feet long and have that many stations, I think it makes sense for you to buy them with the understanding you will be able to crew them with some NPC characters, but you should always have some human being along for the ride.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's going to happen is it's just going to be much less efficient. If I were a betting man, I would bet that we will end up saying, yes, a single person can crew the Carrick, but it's never going to work as well as a crew of people working together.
Right. Because we still don't know until next week when Foundry 42 releases the capital ship systems what exactly is going to be in that. So if you're working a Carrick, you're going to have different stations, and it's going to be very difficult for NPCs to handle everything that a human being would be doing at those stations, correct?
Oh, yeah. Imagine this situation. I can have an NPC that's programmed to be the turret gunner. He's going to sit in the turret, and he'll look out into space, and he'll, the computer AI will say, okay, this target is the biggest threat, so I'm going to point the gun at that and shoot at it. That is really cool. It's good to have, but compare that to having your buddy sitting next to you in that turret, and you being able to say, "Everybody, focus your gun. Focus your firepower on that Star Destroyer."
Right.
No amount of AI is ever going to have that human to AI link.
So yeah, I really think that's the case. So the piece there was that we did say this the last time. You could up to a point, but there's a certain point where you're going to want human beings, and no amount or no quality of NPC is ever going to amount to even a average player character.
Yes.
Okay. So the second piece, now I think that this should be a document that should be moved to the front page occasionally, Death of a Spaceman. Okay? You should put that up at the front page occasionally for all the new people that come out. So if you own a character slot, so I buy an Aurora starter package. It has a character slot, it has an Arena Commander pass, and it has a hangar along with my Aurora. Now I wind up somewhere down the line, like myself, I now have 10 character slots, right? One of my character slots dies. That's still the same thing that was explained in Chris's Death of a Spaceman, right?
Oh yeah, you would re-roll that character.
Yeah, so it would be a legacy type thing where they would get, like, each character slot gets its own reputation in the game, correct?
That's the idea, yes. So it'll be the son or the cousin or the heir to that person, and then there may be a reputation hit. It won't literally carry the reputation over to the next person.
All right. Now
you're never defined by your father, but you're influenced.
Okay. Now I get citizen status by playing through Squadron 42, correct?
That's right.
So in order for each one of those NPC characters to get citizen status, do I have to play each one of them through?
No, it's not. It's a way to earn your citizenship. It's not the way.
Okay. Well, I thought that you were kind of taking the best parts from the Starship Troopers, where you actually serve to get citizenship.
I guess you've seen my tattoo.
I love, Ben. We talk a lot. So I think that's pretty cool, because I think that that's what sometimes everybody has to go back to that document, and I think it should be a clickable resource right on the front page, because I think it's what sets this game apart from many others. So since we're going so fast today, and we're only at 14 minutes, and I promised 20 for this, I'm just going to ask you two more questions, and one of them is going to be about, well, I know that, and this is going to have nothing to do with Star Citizen. People are not going to like it. So I know that you're a really big sci-fi buff, obviously. Did you see the teaser to Star Wars?
Of course.
Yeah? So pretty good, right?
I am very excited. In fact, I just wrote like a 7-page email to one of my friends who's hating on it, just about how he should be more excited.
It's a teaser. It's not the trailer. You know,
it's so cool. And my favorite part is that my wife is so into it. It's really cool just talking about every shot. It's like I'm in middle school again. I am having a great time with it.
Okay. So now I've saved this last question because it's mine, okay? And it has to do with exploration. And I already asked you that question, so we already got the exploration. Can you explain a little bit about a year from now? We know that 100 systems are guaranteed for the Star Citizen Persistent Universe. So say the game goes live a year and a half from now. We're going to say 18 months just so we can hit a mark, right?
Okay.
A year after that, with 600,000 people now being backers in the game, and a lot of people buying the Carrick and other exploration ships, what could I expect to be seeing as an explorer a year after release of the game? Have all the jump points been found? Are there new jump points? Do some jump points get found and then go away and you have to find a new one? What is that concept? Or are we waiting on you to release that design document?
Well, there's two aspects to this, and that they're both kind of interesting. One of the great things about setting your space game, setting your game in space instead of doing a traditional like MMORPG, some medieval-inspired world, is that it absolutely makes sense to be constantly discovering new star systems. There's trillions and trillions of them out there. So from an in-universe perspective, there's always somewhere further to go. The galaxy is constantly expanding. Versus compared to like World of Warcraft, where everybody's like, oh, by the way, we just remembered that there's a panda continent over there.
Or we're going back to Draenor before it broke up and became the Outlands.
No, we never mentioned it, but there's another place over there that we just don't talk about. Yeah. And now we do.
Yeah.
So that's the in-universe aspect. And our goal from an engineering standpoint is to make that possible in our game world. So when we launch the game in 18 months or whenever we do, whenever we get to the point where we say we're no longer in beta and here's the world kicked off, we need to be able to have the tools to rapidly create new star systems for people to explore.
Okay.
One of the big lessons from every MMO ever, but especially Star Wars, that recent Star Wars one, Old Republic, is that no matter how much content you think you preloaded in your universe, your players are going to discover it 4 times as fast.
Right.
So the solution is to have a way to create content quickly to be responsive. So we're looking forward with that philosophy. So people say, oh, you've only have 5 systems ready. Well, you're supposed to have 100 of them. Well, because our focus is creating a tool set so that it is so much easier for us to create additional systems going forward.
Okay.
So I see Star Citizen launching, and hey, we have 20 hidden systems that people have to discover. We think it's going to take them 6 months, but we're ready for the fact that maybe they are all discovered the first day, and we have to create more.
Now, are there going to be even though Freelancer was this open environment and you could not follow the storyline and just go and do what you wanted to do, it had this really rich storyline built into it. Could we expect to see multiple different storylines inside of Star Citizen at some point? Like
for sure.
Pirate-based, but that rich? You know what I mean? Freelancer had me going, you know?
I mean, that's why we build a playground like this instead of just telling one story. It's because we can now tell any story we want once we've created the tools, the world. It really is creating a universe that we can do whatever we want with.
All right. So this is the top secret question that I told you I wanted to ask, and then we're done. I love the Avenger. There's no doubt about it. I've been talking about it since you guys released it. It was one of the first ships that I absolutely had to have and was never going to burn. Now you're talking about variants, and I'm looking at the back of that going, this would be the perfect taxi cab. And I want to have one that's yellow and black and looks like the checkered cab from New York or the Fifth Element.
Well, I'll go ahead and tell you, you will be able to do that. We have from an internal standpoint, we have the paint system going live with Arena Commander 1.0. That doesn't mean everybody gets to paint their ships when we release in a number of weeks, but it does mean that we have now created the tool. Again, we've created a tool that will allow everyone to do this in the future.
So do I have to call Chris Smith and ask him to make me a variant that's a taxi?
No, because you're gonna by the time this all gets really serious, you're gonna have the option to walk into your paint room and color your Avenger the way you want.
Okay.
So right now it's a CryEngine tool for us to work with.
Okay.
That will become inside the game.
Okay, that sounds awesome. And Ben, that was the one that was just looking to throw you at the end. Next week, I might get into a little bit deeper questions. I've had a couple of people send me emails about things, but I was waiting to see what the capital ship document was going to be. Do you expect that to be out midweek or late next week?
I don't want to say. I will say once we're off the air.
All right, no problem. All right, and that's all we got for Ben this week. Thank you so much for joining me this week, Ben.
As always, thank you for having me.
All right, my pleasure.